Thank you for joining me while I have my tea this morning. My little tea tag here reminded me of appreciating yourself and honoring your soul. So I wanted to jump on and talk with you about how the mindset reframe is a lot about looping death and renewal, rebirth in life. It's a constant flow that we're just reliving and going through all the time. And why do we do this? We do this because we need to stay connected with our soul and honor our soul. There's many ways we can do this. As I shared with you in the past, one of the things I do is I look for moments where I could just be with my own self, my own voice, and appreciate wherever I am, and let go of what was. May it be something that made me happy, where I fed my kind of ego and I felt really proud about that moment, or other people's moments, or where I felt very sad and maybe disillusioned with something, maybe a relationship or a job, a role I played in someone else's life. Titles, badges of honor, whatever it was that I had in the past or hoped for. And so it's important that we go to a place where that's what we're doing right now in the winter, just taking this season to slow it down. I spoke earlier also about the apex, how we can go in faster, fun, exciting gears in life. But then when we come to the corner or a mountain, and we need to go around that turn, that twist, we need to slowly and very much control, lower our gears. And it's the slow gears and the neutral times in life where we are here, where we need to really look at things and allow things to die off, so then we can come out the other side and look for new opportunities, new relationships, things that will help us grow. Because if all we do is think about past anything, fears, experiences that we've had, things we looked forward to, and we get stuck on that loop, then we don't enter into a place of new rebirth, exciting things, hope. We can't have hope if we're stuck on an old loop. And so one of the things that made me think about was going through tunnels. So when we go through a tunnel, sometimes before we enter the tunnel, many times we're enjoying the scenery, maybe listen to the radio, and we're very focused on more of the external things because our minds are very much focused on the experiences that we're having at the moment. We use a lot of energy on the external things that we hear, see, taste, maybe sometimes also just whatever's going on, happy or sad in our lives. So we're just thinking about the external and we're not really listening to our internal. But I was reminded the other day that once we are faced with a tunnel, let's say in your car, on your motorcycle, and before you enter that tomb, I call it's kind of like a tomb and a womb at the same time, because we have to go through the death of things in order to come out the other side and see the newness and the rebirth of things, of opportunities. Could that be in a moment, in a month, in a week, in a year? We look at what we need to let go in order to move forward. So when I enter a tunnel on my motorcycle, it's like before I do, I hear everything and there's so much around me. It's so expansive, everything. My energy is just balancing everything around me. What I see, hear, everything. But when I see the darkness of that tunnel, it's like a womb and a tomb, both for me. And when I enter into that dark space, it's comforting. It's a little scary, but it's also comforting to me to know that now I'm going to go into a place where I'm just going to have more connection with myself and less about everything else. One of the things I now experience when I go through tunnels is that my muffler is very loud. Actually my old muffler, because I just got a new motorcycle. It's a 2020 lowrider Harley. But before that, maybe a month and a half ago, up to that point, I had an Indian Scout. But when I bought her, she had a very loud muffler. And at first I was very, very shy about having a loud muffler because I felt like I was a woman. And then people would look at me and I would feel awkward about them hearing me coming near them, around them. One of the guys I used to ride with, well, I still ride with him, but not right now so much because it's the winter. But someone came with me to take a look at motorcycles, because honestly it was the first time I went to go buy my own motorcycle. And he offered, I mean, it's like if you say to a woman, come, let's go shop and buy dresses or shoes or something, everyone's like, okay, cool. For men, ask them to come with you to check out motorcycles. They are all over it and it's so fun to see them get excited. But he came with me, and when I first heard the motorcycle, I said, well, this is great, but it's too loud. And he said, no, it's never too loud. It's never too loud to have the loudest muffler in the crew. So that's where I started, where I entered this kind of tunnel, is I was hearing the muffler. But when I went and entered into that tomb, that womb, it got very loud. My muffler got very loud to me. And I could feel the impact of that rumble in the mountain, in the tunnel. I could hear, it was like my soul, my voice, so much louder in the tunnels when I go through. And I could just feel everything just shaking around me. And it was just coming through my whole body, my whole being. But what was interesting is when I started to come out the other side of the tunnel and I could start to see the light at the other end, I realized whatever I was thinking or feeling or experiencing, my eyes, just my senses had all been at a standstill while I was in that tomb, in that tunnel, in that womb, all at the same time. That was all exaggerated. Just me, my inside, my soul. And I forgot about everything else I was thinking about before I entered that tunnel, because everything was just like tunnel vision, right? And sometimes we need to find places, find our own tunnels, our own tombs, our own wombs to actually enter into in order to leave old fears, experiences, sometimes moments of pride, moments of prior discoveries. We need to leave some experiences behind us many times, leave experiences behind us and fears, but take along the lesson. Like, take along that little nugget, that little lesson inside our backpacks and keep moving through, because otherwise you just won't enter those places. You can't bring the whole experience. That's like bringing a couch on your back when you go into a tunnel. All right, you just need to leave that behind. And that's why a lot of these tunnels are made for regular cars, not for trucks. And the longer they are, there's actually a very long tunnel. I think it's the longest mountainous tunnel. It's in Colorado. And it's called the Eisenhower and Johnson Tunnel. It's on I-70, I believe. That's what I hear it is. And it's a very long tunnel. It's like over 1.5 miles, this tunnel for cars. And I actually want to go on it on my motorcycle. And it gets, from what I've heard, others that have experienced it, they said it almost gets a little scary, a little frightening, because you're in that space for so long. And but I love tunnels because I hear my soul, I celebrate it, I'm in company with it, I have gratitude with it, and then when I see the light at the end of a tunnel, I know, I just see my experience just opens up. And I've forgotten what I had in my mind before I entered the tunnel. So look for tunnels and times in life, like we are having right here, for when you can let things go. There's a strength in learning to hone in and be in a small space, even when you are in a very large mountain and a large place. You know, when we look at Google Maps, if we look from a satellite view, everything looks very large and so much possibility. But it's important, and sometimes we need to zoom in and have an experience, but then zoom back out, so you're not so caught up in the emotions of that moment. So whether that's going into a quiet, dark space like a tunnel, or maybe going for a hike, going on your motorcycle. There's a real strength in having the ability to zoom in and zoom out of situations, places, seasons in your life. That's why right now we're zooming in a lot during these winter months, because it's just important to build on that strength. I remember at one of the monasteries that I typically go to, I said to one of the monks, we were just in the line for, I think, for dinner. And I said, I had just seen someone not behave very well. And there's certain places where you just have self-control not to react. And I just said to one of the monks, I just said, how do you deal with people when they don't act so composed and graceful? And he turned to me and he said, remember, you are not of this world. And he turned back around and got back in line so we can pick up our food. And that just stayed with me for the rest of my time there. And that's for me where tunnels come in, because I can be in a place or where it's very dark and very quiet, or I can feel like I'm in space, so zoomed out that I can let go of heavy things or fears or, maybe even achievements or prideful things that might be mine or other people's points of pride. We need to be able to let go of points of pride, points of fear, points of disappointment, points in our life where we were hurt. We had an experience where someone hurt us. But if we keep living in that and zooming in on that moment, like the Buddha said, we create our own suffering. So it's important to zoom out or zoom in places of darkness, of fear, whatever experience you're going through, and listen to your soul and appreciate your soul wherever you are, how close or how far you are from an experience. That ability is something that it's a muscle, and it's very helpful to practice zooming in and zooming out of going in places where you need to realize death is part of life and rebirth, and you do it at the same time and work on that skill set. So this was just an analogy that I used to make sure that I learn a lesson from going from the womb to the tomb and death and rebirth, that working on the ability to flow from one to the other in a moment is something that is practiced. And if you want to create a new mantra for your life and a new mindset this season, then practice. Whether it's writing, however you want to do it. It could be journaling, writing, sitting quietly in a space, or going through a tunnel, walking through the woods. So practice this, and we will see you with your new mindset. Thanks. Bye.